Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. This is the second lecture of Isa Life Collections. I am Isa, and today we are going to be talking about Plato's The Divided Line, also known as Theory of Forms. Now, if you watched my last video regarding allegory of cave, you will probably get a better understanding of this. But if not, that's totally okay, because I am going to simplify this for you guys. Now, before we get into it, I just wanted to make a little disclaimer. So, in our last video, we learned that we can't trust everyone 100%, no matter how knowledgeable that person is, or no matter how popular they are. We have to take everything with a grain of salt. We have to question everything. We have to think deeper about things. With that being said, you should take these theories with a grain of salt as well. They are theories. They are here to give you a better representation of understanding the universe better, perhaps, and maybe you can relate on this to a personal level into how you want to use these teachings and how you want to incorporate this in your own life. So again, take everything with a grain of salt. These are theories, but nonetheless, they are very fun and interesting to talk about. So, the divided line, what is it? This is Plato's diagram, and it represents different levels of knowledge that a person can obtain. There are four main segments, and I've been seeing a lot of people on YouTube doing it horizontally. It is actually originally done vertically, not that it really matters, but this is why we're going to do it as such. So, four segments. Reason is the highest. Second is the understanding. Third, belief. And fourth, imagining. How I like to remember is R-U-B-I. Are you believing Isa? You better believe it. So, anyways, within these four segments, it is also divided into two different parts. It's a little uneven. So, right here is opinion.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
Everything in opinion is a part of the visual world. We can see this and we can interact with this. Opinion, visual. This top section is knowledge. I'm going to write it vertically. This is knowledge. And with knowledge comes the intelligible world, also known as the non-visual world. Okay, we cannot see this. This is non-visual, this is visual. This is how they're divided up, right here. So, got a little switch up of color today. This area is going to be all examples. So we're going to start from bottom to top. First one being imagining. What are some examples of imagining? We can think of shadows, reflections, and images. Now, if you were with me in my last video, we were talking about allegorical references within the cave, and the shadow was being compared to our society. Now, the shadows represented false imagery in our world, newspaper headlines, media, especially social media. In today's age, Instagram influencers, Facetune, this perception of having this perfect life and lifestyle. We know that depression is a lot more prevalent since the emergence of social media. Also, politicians. Plato believed that politicians were skillful at image making. They want you to see what they want you to see, and they want you to believe what they want you to believe. You don't have to be a politician to do that. There's very deceptive people out there. You know, you can pretend to be someone that you're not. That also counts into the shadows. Now, another example, reflections. This could be looking at yourself in the mirror or looking at yourself through the reflection of the water. It is not you, it is a copy of you. But what I find most interesting that Plato relates to the imagining section is still arts, paintings. Now, if you are an artist, please do not get offended by this. Although Plato was, to an extent, devaluing artists and sculptors and poets and politicians, he was doing the most. But we gotta be open to the idea and just listen to what he has to say. Not only that, I think in the terms of artwork, he was referencing more towards realism and naturalism, which is a type of art that stays very similar to what is perceived in the visual world. They try to make it seem realistic. So, a famous artist who put this idea into fruition, his name is Rene Magritte. Okay, and I'm going to show you a photo right now. I'm going to show you a painting. Now I'm going to ask you, what is this painting? What is in this painting? Most of you may say, that painting is of a pipe. If anything, that is the perfect representation of what a pipe should look like. Now, what's interesting about this painting is not necessarily the painting itself, but the words underneath it that makes the painting a lot more powerful. Now, this is written in French, but in English it says, "This is not a pipe." Okay? And so you're probably thinking, if it's not a pipe, then what is it? And a lot of people were asking Magritte that as well. They're saying, what are you talking about? This is a pipe. And he's like, oh yeah? So why don't you put tobacco in it, light that bee up, and tell me if it's a pipe or not? Which is interesting. So, Magritte was a Plato fan, oftentimes using his teachings in his own artwork. And he effectively put Plato's teachings into fruition here, because they are both trying to say it is not really a pipe. You can't smoke from it. What this is only a copy. It is only a mere image of a pipe. Therefore, it's not really a pipe. So that painting itself really helped me understand what Plato was trying to say with this level of knowledge. Now, Rene Magritte, he is a surrealist artist. He's not an artist in naturalism or realism. He is a surrealist that emerged in the 1920s and took a different approach to an artistic movement and philosophical movement. It started to delve into the unconscious, dreamlike per se. So this is kind of like also a Pablo Picasso, very similar in nature, very abstract. So that does not really count for that, but Magritte definitely made it as realistic as possible to prove a point. If the words were not there on that painting, you would think nothing of it. You would just think it's a pipe. That's it. But the fact that the words are on there that says this is not a pipe makes the painting even more powerful. So that was just a little example to kind of help you understand this concept a little bit better. Now, we are moving into the next level. It's a step up. And this is belief, which is the recognition of things, and it is the recognition of three-dimensional objects, things in our material world. So, what are some examples? Let's say an apple. Let's say animals. Humans. And cities. All right. So, why aren't the things in our material world considered highly knowledgeable? Why isn't it higher on the list? Well, if you think about it, everything in our material world was created by us. Not only was it created by us, it was created by a thought. And that's where the power really lies. Not the physicality of things, but the thoughts of that idea. Because without the thought, it would have never come into existence without the thought. And so everything in our world is either created by us, technology or cities, whatever it could be, but it could also be created by our creators. And if our creators were able to manifest a world such as this, you would have to know that it must be conscious. And if it is conscious, then it must have a stream of thoughts. That would make sense. So, not only that, Plato seems to believe that anything regarding our senses, this could be visual, auditory, gustatory, sensory motor, our senses, then that means it is in a state of flux, which means it is subject to change. So how can something be true if it is continually changing? Apples rot. Animals grow and pass. Humans grow, they age, and they die. Cities grow, and cities, unfortunately, are destroyed. You could go to the city every day, and you will never see the same thing every day. Why? Because it's not the same. Everything is continually changing. You can go into a river at 11 a.m., have a good old time, walk out, and then go into that same river at 12:30 p.m. Instead, when you get out, you have a bunch of leeches on your leg or something. You'd be like, why did I have a bunch of leeches on my leg if I didn't have that at 11 a.m.? Well, it's because it's a different river. It's a different water flow. Different aquatic creatures could be, passing by. Different parasites, bacteria, whatever it could be, everything is a state of flux. Everything is continually changing. Okay? So this is why it's not higher up there. So now, we are going to go into understanding. Now, this is getting into universal laws like math, and sciences, and philosophy. I'm gonna just put Phil. Hey, Phil. Anyways, okay. I was able to understand this section a lot easier by Rene Descartes' take on it. We got another Rene in the house. We were talking about Rene Magritte. He is an artist. But now we are talking about Rene Descartes. He is also French, but he is a mathematician, philosopher, scientist, a triple threat, the father of modern philosophy. He does it all. Brilliant. Anyways, he went on this spiritual journey. He wanted to figure out the ultimate truth. He was also a Plato fan. We love Plato up in here. We love his teachings. We love his ideas. Anyways, he was a Plato fan, and he decided to go on this journey. And by trying discover the truth, he decided to deny every single thing that he believed were true. And he found that the only thing he felt was true was mathematics. For example, when we're dreaming, let's say that we're dreaming of a triangle. I know we'd be dreaming of triangles. Triangles is the hottest shape out there. And so when you think about it, you're dreaming of a triangle, right? We know what constitutes a triangle. It must always be 3 sides. And above that, all angles must always equal to 180 degrees. Anyone who can reason and anyone who thinks logically will always know this to be true. The triangle will be the same in the dream, and it will be the same when you wake up. So maybe you're not into triangles, maybe we're going to talk about a circle, maybe you're into circles. We know that an area of the circle will always be pi r squared. We will always know this to be true. Whether you're sleeping or when you're awake, it will never change. Whereas when you're dreaming about a person or something, you're dreaming about a conversation that will never exist or hasn't existed in your real world, your real life. Because although our universe is quite dreamlike, it is still considered our reality, it is still considered our real life. So you can be dreaming about a person, a city, animals, but it will never ever be the same how it is in real life. Whereas with universal laws, it will always be the same. Now with understanding, Plato also thinks that sciences is a part of understanding. So although doctors, for example, they are studying the material body, the physical body, they are still using higher... So I realized that more of my video got cut off. I am sorry, I apologize for that. But getting back to what I was saying, Plato does think that sciences is involved with understanding, because although doctors are analyzing the physical body and the material body, they're using higher level thinking and reasoning and understanding to kind of get an understanding of the micro level of what's happening inside the body that we cannot see with our visible eye. So that does count for understanding in that section. Now, we are going to get into the highest level of knowledge a person can have, which is reasoning. So I'm going to read you a little part of this book. I'm reading this hunker so that you guys don't have to. But Plato says, the philosopher's ascent is made possible by the love of truth, which enables him finally to reach the highest reality, the supreme form, the idea of good, the ultimate aim of the soul. The idea of good is the end or fulfillment or purpose for which all things exist and alone gives intelligibility, truth, and goodness to all other forms, which are dependent upon it. And it alone provides the coordination of unity. So the idea of good. The idea of good is what constitutes reason. An example Plato makes is the sun.
Rise and
An
shine.
example is the sun. Without the sun, we wouldn't have a visual world to talk about in the first place. And the sun is responsible for life and growth in our universe. Now, I'm sure we are all familiar with the electromagnetic spectrum of light, which is because of the sun, in which we can see only a certain amount of visible light. We cannot see ultraviolet or infrared. But but we know that it's there. But most importantly, what is inside these levels of light are wavelengths and frequencies. And those are things that we cannot see, but we know they're there. We know it's all around us. We know that it's floating in the universe. And a lot of people would like to say that this could constitute for intuition and emotional intelligence. Now I have one example for you guys. There was a study done at the University of Netherlands where they had a group of people who can see, and then they had another group of people that were blind due to cortical lesions. However, their optic nerves still worked, they still had eyes, it's just that their occipital lobe in the visual cortex, which is back here, all the way back here, it could not process this, therefore making them completely blind. So, what they did was, on a computer screen, showed different faces. And with these faces, it was either a happy face, a sad face, or an angry face. And oftentimes we found that we tend to mimic faces subconsciously. If you've ever seen someone yawn, you tend to yawn subconsciously. And so with people who can see, we use mirror neurons. And with those, we're able to kind of mimic a certain emotion by seeing it. But the tricky part is that the people who couldn't see were doing the exact same responses as the people who can see. Now researchers were blown away. They were like, wait a minute, why'd you smile? Why'd you crack a smile? They said, I don't know, I just did. Oh, why did you furrow your brow like that? Or why did you make that certain look? It was a hunch. They're like, can you see? And of course they're like, no, I'm blind.
I cannot see, I'm legally blind.
So what does that support? What does that tell us? It supports that we connect in a way that's beyond what we see. We connect by emotions and empathy. The doctors decided to take a further look into this. They wanted to see what was happening in the brain. So they looked at the MRI, and they saw that alternative pathways were being created. These pathways were going into the limbic system and not the visual cortex, like everyone else who can see. So these pathways were going to the limbic system, and the limbic system is responsible for learning and memory, but most importantly, it is responsible for emotion. And so you can think of this as emotional intelligence, this idea of good. And when something makes you feel good, know that to be right and know that to be true. Like chasing your dreams. It makes you feel good to dream about stuff like that, to dream about passions, to do passions. It makes you feel good. And there will always be haters out there to tell you, how could you possibly do something like that? Realistically, it will never happen. But don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to your gut feelings. Human beings are the only... Oh my God. Human beings are the only species in the animal kingdom that will run straight into danger. Why is it that every other animal will run away when they feel something off? It's because we are conscious and we are logical enough to manipulate ourselves. Oh, I shouldn't be thinking of that. That's foolish. Why should I? Nothing's going to happen. It'll be fine. It's fine. It's fine until it's not fine. And when it's not fine, what do you say? You say, oh, I knew it all along. I should have went with my gut feeling. I knew that was going to happen. If you knew it was going to happen, listen to your gut next time. Take your gut more seriously. We oftentimes put that aside, but I really truly believe that emotional intelligence is the highest and strongest form of intelligence we could possibly have. Now, how can we get to this level? It starts from feeling good. put yourself in open-minded situations. Be open-minded to many situations going on in your life. There will always be stresses happening in your life. There will always be things and obstacles in your life that will make your life harder and sometimes more miserable. But it is our perception that changes the experience of that situation. Oftentimes we make many misinterpretations, often interpretations that we think we see. If you see a man go into a store, he throws a chair at a worker, you would think, oh, he's a crazy man, he's a crazy guy. But you don't know what happened between him and that worker. Maybe he used to work there, and maybe some beef went down that was really, really traumatic. Who knows? But we make misinterpretations of interpretations that we think are correct. So we got to be open-minded to many different situations in our life. Not only that, we need to approach things in a more loving, compassionate, and kind way. We need to focus on those type of emotions. Plato thinks that people who function on this level, on belief, are the people who care about gossip, people who care about mundane stresses in our lives, people who care about things where in reality, or in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't actually matter.
Diamond earring came up in the ocean and it's gone. And there's people that are dying.
Because they are putting too much focus on the material world. Remember, this is the material world. Do not put too much focus in this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I love watching E-News. I love my Sunday gossip sometimes. I'm not saying do not watch these things, but I'm just saying everything pleasurable in our life has limits. You do not want to live a hedonistic lifestyle, because that will consume you and that will eat your soul. And we know that this level aims to please our soul. Unconditional positive regard to yourself and to others. Most importantly to yourself though. There's a difference between self-critiquing and self-analyzing. If you're going to critique yourself, be open-minded about it. Cut yourself some slack. Why do you always have to be so mean to yourself? There's already so many mean people out there. You don't need to be that person to yourself. Absolutely not. It stops. It has to stop. Not to say, maybe there's some negative things about yourself that you want to change. That's totally okay. But cut yourself a break. Be nice to yourself. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Now we want to focus on things that make us feel good. Murderers kill because it makes them feel good. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a universal goodness that is morally right in our society. And beyond that. If it makes you feel good, giving happiness and kindness to others. When you project those emotions, those things will come back to you. If you don't believe it, try it and let me know what happens. Because why does it seem like, I went through a time where I would do constant self-negative talk. And it seemed that every time I would do that, I'd be like, oh, I can't get worse than this. It always got worse. It always got worse. When I would play volleyball, I would say, don't mess up. I was serving. I would say, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. And I'd mess up. So we have to start changing our language. We have to start saying, I can do this. We have to start saying, it's okay to make mistakes. It's a part of learning. We have to say, maybe that person's going through a really hard day. Let me try to be more understanding. Those are the type of good that we want to focus on. And like I said, the real power lies in thoughts and the real power lies in feelings. And these are things we cannot see. So yeah, that is it on the divided line. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you like it. You can go ahead and follow Isa Life Collections, my Instagram account. It's not currently active, but once my website launches, I will have a lot of cool stuff to show. But for now, you can go ahead and follow my personal account on Isabella_Andrino. And the channel that I really care about is my travel agency Instagram account called Travel by Bellas, where I post inspirational quotes and I talk about teachings within those inspirational quotes. But yeah, it's very fun. I will insert a little clip afterwards. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.